Hi guys, my name is Mary McTagg and I am a foreign graduate veterinarian. I actually went to study veterinary medicine in the country of Brazil, and I kind of just wanted to give you my perspective of how I study for the Navle. And yes, I am very aware that this video is crappy. However, when I was studying for the Navle, I watched a ton of YouTube videos about how other people studied for the Navle, and not a single video was from the perspective of somebody who had studied outside of the United States. And I really wanted to just have any story of how that person studied, and it just didn't exist. So I kind of made a promise to the universe that if I had passed the Navle, which I have, I would make a video of how I studied so that maybe I can help other people. So hopefully I can help someone. So first of all, I just want to say that I did not go to a very fancy university, and I studied in the country of Brazil, which is extremely different from the United States. Including even the types of classes we take are completely different. Just to give you an idea, the last year of in my education in Brazil was completely about animal science. So it was like meat inspection, milk, fish production. And so none of those classes were applicable at all to the Navle. And a lot of the subjects that fall on the Navle were just not covered at all in my university. And so it was very hard to study for the Navle at first, but I'm going to give you some of my tips. First of all, get Zuku review. That's your first step. You're probably going to download that anyway, either to do the QSE or the BSCE. And so I think it is much better just to build on the notes and the information that you're going to use to study for those tests. And I know what I'm talking about because I actually did the BSCE and the QSE. So I can give you from that perspective. So a lot of the questions on the Zuku review for QSE or BSCE, they're over the basic subjects like anatomy, physiology, and kind of some more basic parts of the diseases. However, Zuku review takes a lot of those more basic questions and it makes it more complicated and elaborates those questions more for the Navle prep. So I think it's much easier just to take that information that you already kind of have a notion of it and just kind of make your notes a little bit more detailed. For me, it was extremely helpful. Plus, I think the Zuku review was really great because it had lots of lectures and for you to watch so you can remember all the information. Or for me, like me, I was learning most of this information for the first time. So I cannot recommend it enough. And if you have questions about the subjects, you can email them at any time, and the actual owner of the company will respond to you most of the time. It's really a good service. I cannot say enough about it. Some other tools I used was this book. So a lot of the questions that will appear on the QSE and the BSCE come from this book. And it's just really good because a lot of the stuff will appear in a more, it has a lot of photos, so it makes things a little bit easier to kind of like stick in your mind. But it also has a lot of like just easy like graphics and bullet points, which makes everything a little bit easier to memorize, and it goes over almost all the subjects. So like either veterinary oncology, small animal, exotics. This book is just very good in general to have. and I used it a lot for the QSCE and BCE. And I used it some for the Navle, but mainly for those first two tests. Another thing I used was note cards. So for me, a lot of this information, like I said, was new for me. I had not learned it in the university at all. So I really had a disadvantage in comparison to a lot of the students American students who are studying for the Navle, because a lot of times they have learned that information and they're just having to remember it. I was learning it for the first time. And in order to learn something, I think you have to memorize it. And there's no better way, I think, in my opinion, to memorize information than using note cards. So, guys, like, I had over 600 note cards. 600. I'm not joking. I counted them out one time. And some of this stuff was just like pure, like, actual memorization, but like, to give you an idea, like I have like how to diagnose white muscle disease, and then I would put stuff on the other end, like liver to test selenium, can test SN antemortem, like just stuff to help me remember all this new information. And a lot of them I made for the QSCE and BCSCE. And then when I went to go study the Navle, I just wrote more stuff on the first note card. So it like really helped me remember the information. Of course, a lot of the stuff I don't remember anymore, but at the time it did help. Another thing I used was actually just typing out the notes from Zuku Review's videos. So a lot of the videos they have are really good. And so a lot of the stuff I would do is type up their notes. I thought that was very useful. Another thing is, if you're really crazy, guys, and you really want to pass this test, I'm not going to lie, I think you have to have 3 months of just sitting down and really studying. It is really bad, but you are at a disadvantage in comparison to a lot of the other American students. For a lot of you guys, English is not your first language. The questions are very long, and you don't have a lot of time. So you really need to know the information, but you need to know it like quickly. So you don't have a lot of time to sit there and think. So you have to know it. And I think the more you do, the better you're going to be off. So I actually downloaded a study guide that another foreign student had made, and she had typed up every single topic from all the questions on Zuku. So I used a lot of this information just from like typing out, reading all the questions on topics off of the Zuku review. Because like I said, a lot of this information I was learning for the first time, and I treated learning this like a job. Another thing I think is really helpful, guys, is making graphs. So for instance, like you're gonna have to memorize all the gestation lengths for all the species. So you're gonna have to like separate in your mind the cow, mare, sow, bitch, queen. And how are you gonna do that? It's a lot of information. Just make a graph. Make a graph and separate all the information in your head. Lastly, another thing I used to use for studying for the Navle was actually the power pages. And I thought those were also very helpful. And another great thing to do with the power pages is to write your own notes on the power pages, just so you can cement that information in your head. So perhaps it was a lot of information, but I just wanted to say how I studied.